Hello, I am Sir Talon of Dirtamarian, and this is Paladin Vander of Dirtamarian, and we're here to teach you how to throw basic shots with a single blue, you know, basic short stick, and later in the class, not earlier, haha, great weapons. So, starting off, we're gonna go with how to hold a stick. So there are two kinds. You have your, Omni club, bat sword, and you have a flat. You have two main grips. You have your hammer grip, which means I'm gonna take my glove off for this. Like, I'm just gonna make a fist like it would hold a hammer, and boom, that's it. Kind of creating this like 90-degree angle here. I can move my wrist, but it's not as comfortable. But like, this is good for just good swing, good grip on the sword, good for sturdy blocking. Then you have your saber or handshake grip. So imagine if I, instead of just making this fist, I kind of like curl my hands in that way. So like my fingers are this way. So instead of just grip on sword, kind of points the sword, makes it easier to manipulate. My thumb is up the blade here. Some older people will tell you, oh, don't put your thumb up the blade, up the back of the sword. You'll hurt your thumb when you block. They're wrong. People have been fighting with swords for centuries and doing this. It's absolutely fine. For the flat sword, same types of grips, but when we do the saber grip, there's a special third grip where we'll put our thumb along the flat of the grip there, so long as you have an oblong handle. If you don't have an oblong handle on your flat sword, something is so very wrong. We'll put our thumb up the flat here, and that'll help us throw certain shots later. So before we can swing a sword, we have to get into a basic stance, right? So I would tell you, you want your feet shoulder width apart, and you're gonna comfortably take one step back with either foot, preferably the foot that does not match the sword. So if my sword is in my right hand in this case, I'm gonna take a step back with my left foot, sit on behind my sword. This is a basic stance. All right, it'll get you mostly everywhere. Your stance is going to depend upon what weapon you have, but for right now I have single blue. The only other stance is what I like to call pale stance. Pale stance is purely for swinging my sword in a practice motion. It's the stance I'm going to be using this entire class to teach you these shots. So for pale stance, we get to the same type of stance, except I'm going to pump my arm like this so that it is ready, loaded already. And this other hand is in front of me to give it something to do, but it also helped me torque my body as we go through these motions. If I were to have a shield as well, I can kind of pretend like my hand is holding that shield, right? So, 5 basic shots. The first shot is a chop. What makes a chop is that if you imagine quite literally your hand makes, good old karate chop fashion, and it does not turn. No matter how you throw or turn your hand, it does not turn. Your knuckles and thumb all stay in the same area, right? So basically, if I'm advanced up, this is chop. If I want to chop somewhere else, I'm going to turn my sword. I'm going to twist my body as I throw this shot. This is chop. Chop is not in any way special or difficult. It's the most common and the most safest shot you can throw. It's also one of the most powerful shots. I don't have to think about anything when I throw chop. I can just hammer in the shot. It doesn't change when I have a flat sword either. If I want to aim at Vander's legs, I'm just going to lower myself slightly, turn my arm out, and throw chop to the body, right? So that's basic chop. Nothing really special about it. You can change chops, you can angle it in different ways to make it, but it's all still chop. One of those basic shots you can learn, and when everything fails you, chop won't. So from here we have the full wrap. The purpose of a wrap is to go around an object like a shield or another sword or something of that nature. So for full wrap, when we throw this shot, imagine you're throwing chop, but at, let's say, roughly the halfway point, we're going to turn our elbow, not our wrist, our elbow, all the way out. So imagine your thumb goes from throwing the chop motion, right? We're going to turn that thumb at the rotating our elbow. Our thumb's going to end up upside down from where it was with chop, right? So same thing. Bang. If I want to throw around this side, bang. If I want to throw here, bang. Generally, the high cross is often thrown as a full wrap. That's all full wrap. All right. You know, so the high cross is holy. Bang. The high cross. Wrap around the board. Wrap around the knees. The wrap is a slower shot because it has to make this wide arc, right? So it's generally slower. It hits with a good degree of force. It also has less range than a chop. Chop extends out to like here. The wrap, because you're cutting the distance, it's going to be a, you know, cutting it in half because you have to wrap over. So you got to be a little bit closer to hit the wrap properly. From there, we have flat wrap. I'm sorry, I forgot. Flat sword full wrap. So you're going to be hitting with like the opposite side of the blade. So if your fingers are on one side, you can still throw the shot. You just have to make sure you are perfect about wrapping all the way over. Flat wrap. To my understanding, the flat wrap gets its name because if you were to use a flat sword, and when you throw the shot, you would be hitting with the flat of your sword. So with the bat, you don't have to worry about that. This shot is in between chop and full wrap. It's flat wrap or half wrap, I've heard it called. So chop here, full wrap. Our thumb comes there. On the flat wrap, our thumb is going to be like we throw a chop, except it's just going to turn and lay our hand flat, just like that, right? This is a faster wrap, but it does not circumvent the object as much. So if I think there's a smaller opening here, I might be able to flat wrap over the shot, right? If I want to cut, I can't cut this angle because the shield will block it, but I might be able to cut here. So if I think that I'm closer to my opponent and this shot is a lot faster, I can throw a flat wrap around the shot. So I just said that on a flat sword, if I hold it like in our normal saber grip, that I will throw a flat and the flat won't count, correct? That's why I mentioned earlier about putting our thumb up the flat side of the blade there. So from there, now when I throw a basic shot, I can throw the flat wrap and keep the blade in line with my target, correct? So good shot there. Quality stuff. I like flat wraps. A lot of people throw flat wraps around arms. So let's say I was a lefty. If I throw a chop, I can't get around his guard. If I throw a full wrap, it might take too long. Like, yes, I can get around, but it might take too long. He might guard himself out, strike me in the middle, things like that. If I throw a flat wrap, I can get just enough around and fast enough without him being able to guard him. So there's a purpose of a flat wrap as well if you're a lefty. Same thing with here. So if I throw just the basic chop, bang, it's not going to work. Even longer there, but I can throw this flat wrap with a flat sword. Get right there, right on top of his arm. Very simple, very easy to do. So from there we have the coolest of all the blue shots ever, baby. We have reverse wrap. Look, all right, I preach about the lefty hip wrap, but that's just memes. It's also the best shot in the game. It's just memes. Reverse wrap, super, super cool, all right? So, this quadrant here of the body is honestly not threatened a whole lot, so we're gonna try to hit that, right? You swing up top, there's a sword here, shield here, less shield here, oh yeah. So, reverse wrap, we're going to turn our body, load our hips, and turn our sword all the way over in this fashion. And once again, at the elbow, don't flip your wrist. At the elbow, we're gonna pull our elbow in and push out, bang. So imagine that your fist is this way, and you just back fist, backhand, pimp slap, whatever you wanna call it, that side of their body. So turn and load, bang, turn and load, bang. A lot of people will turn their hand all the way over, which causes their sword to kind of do this motion here, so that we can look at our palm up. That's not what we want, not initially. You want your hand to end in an upwards, angle, like you would at the end of a chop. That has more power in it, and it's also easier on your body. So once again, bang. Commonly, your dark sides and your monies are oftentimes reverse wraps. The only difference between a dark side and a money is where it ends in front of the shield. A money shot will be in front of the shield, our dark side will be behind the shield, but traditionally they are both thrown as reverse wraps, and that's common shot. It's the prettiest basic shot in the book. All right, you fake pump, bang, you just look so cool, and it's just not that hard to do. Difficult to use, very easy to actually do. And the last shot, oh, I'm sorry, I always forget the flat sword. Once again, because we're going to be holding the sword with our thumb up the flat of the blade on the handle, we can now throw this shot. So initially, I would hit flat. That's not good. It's not good for the weapon. It's not good for your opponent. It's not good for you, because your shot doesn't count and they just hit you. But if we hold the sword up the flat, I can, the same way, turn, face it right, bang, just land. And you can see the flat of your sword. My sword has cool, pretty writing on it, so I know if I see my writing, I've hit the shot great. So put cool things up the flats of your swords. Makes it look really cool. The last one is a stab. It really doesn't matter what sword I use. That's the stab. That's it. So in stance and things of that nature, there are some things you can do to keep your stab from being unsafe. If you turn your entire, you can turn your body, you can turn your wrist, you can turn even your elbow in. Turning the stab in will lock the stab in line with what you're doing to keep you from doing things like, you know, up into someone's face and stuff like that. If you turn it, you're less likely to go higher or lower than what you might want. Also, the driving force, similar to like if I turn a punch into a thing for people who do boxing, just doing that pushes the stab in a little deeper. It gives it a little bit more oomph. So instead of being like, oh, this might be a light stab, it might not have enough reach, just turning my arm out pushes in to my opponent that much more. The other way to lock yourself in is to not even like move your arms at all, and to step into your opponent with the stab. So you just lock your body into place, step directly into them, and if you time it right, or even like turn your body and stuff like that, you'll have to do a lot less worrying about, oh man, I jacked this sword way into my opponent's face. Obviously for melee weapons, the face is not a legal target. So those are all kind of like the basic blue shots, whether you have single short, stuff like that. So now we'll move on to great weapons, the coolest weapon in the game. Welcome to great weapons. They're cool, they're massive. This sword is 5 feet long. Yes, they could be larger, but hey, everyone wants to swing like a hero. The most important thing about swinging great weapons is the safety of it all. Your mechanics are actually quite literally the same. So chop is the same thing. Imagine chop with one hand. Now I put two hands on it. The only difference is I'm going to be pulling with this bottom hand, right? And pushing with this top hand to get this motion. But if I only put one hand on the sword, it's the exact same thing. So push and pull, push and pull. You can do things like the flat wrap and the pull wraps and stuff like that with it, but as you fight with great weapon more, you'll see that that stuff is used a lot less. Great weapons live and die on basic chops and different ways to use it. You can get like a pseudo reverse wrap happening when you go into what we call the grave digger. Generally people have like, you know, imagine you've got a shovel, and you just shove it, shoveling dirt away. That's our grave digger shot, right? But the most important thing is the safety. So imagine the head of your opponent is a clock. At 12 o'clock, these are headshots. These are bad if we don't want to throw them. But at 10 and 2, we're generally fine. Similar to like you're driving, pick your hands at 10 and 2. At 10 and 2, for the most part, you will be fine. Even if Vander were to take a leg here, and he takes the leg, goes down. At 10 and 2, I'm not worried about hitting him in the head all that often, right? Now, things happen, people can move their heads, stuff like that. But if he moves his head, let's say this way, once again, my 10 and 2 simply change my angles to go with these shots. So keeping in mind that 10 and 2 principle, 10 and 2 at that angle, very, very important. So with your greatsword, another thing you can do is a very simple cast. We call it a cast. It's like casting out to go fishing. That's how I know that it got its name. The only difference is, the only thing we're going to be doing here is imagine throwing with your top hand and letting go. So we can use more of the range of the sword to do that. You can even cast with the top hand if you want to get closer. A lot of people swap feet so that we're holding the sword with the bottom hand. We're going to cast out. It's a very simple, very safe way to throw a shot. If you've got people in a line and you don't want to step in and then get hit by 4 people, you can try to cast out at targets further away. You just need to, you know, make sure you keep a hold of your sword. Don't throw your sword with both hands. We're only throwing it with one hand. Yes, the flick. So like I said, most great weapons are going to live and die by the chop, right? It's like the simplest, very powerful shot to throw. A flick shot loses that power for like a very weird, not quite real rap shot. So let's turn here again. So once again, the chop, we come directly down, right? For the flick shot, we want our bottom hand, I don't know if I'm in camera or not, yeah. We want our bottom hand to come higher than our top hand so that we can get this motion home. So here, I can't hit Vander's shoulder because the shield's in the way. If I start throwing the flick shot, I'm now hitting over the shield, right? And it's cool that I have different color gloves. But yeah, our bottom hand becomes higher than our top hand, and it makes a flick motion. It won't be a very powerful shot for like shield breaking or things of that nature, but it'll be